All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh Bashmi Awashai Bashmi Rukak with Dash. And double honors to the apostles of the great Noson that told me what I know today. And as well as giving you brothers out there the salutations thereof, towards you, Akim, that's forwarding this truth worldwide. And Shalom, Yahweh Bashmi Awashai Brakatham, to those that are on the side, supporting and heeding, to you, Akim and Wak Yam. All right, and it's your brother Laban coming at you with another video, and in this video, I'm gonna have to be doing this again because I had done this before, but it didn't go through because I was having some issues with my computer. All right, so hopefully, as I go through this, it'll all go smoothly. So let me just get this out of the way. All right, so yeah, let's get started. So this reads from the Guardian.com, which is where I'm at, and this reads, the Silicon Valley Bank collapse may be the start of slow rolling crises, warns BlackRock boss. And once BlackRock gives the warning like this, then we should definitely be on the focus as to what could possibly happen with these banks, because as we should already know, these crises, for as long as we can all remember them, especially certain brothers that have been in this faith for, as long as I have, we remember during the times of the early, 2010s, have you will, where, you've had these different psyops happening over and over again. So now, this is what we expect. But in this case, when it comes to BlackRock warning that there's going to be a slow rolling crises on these banks. In other words, what he's basically saying is that the lesser banks are going to get more affected, because the Silicon Valley Bank is the I believe it's the 16th, as they said, it's the 16th largest bank. So it's still relatively of a lesser bank at that. All right, so if this bank, and as well as the Signature Bank, is going through its struggles right now, then we can only but expect other banks to go through their struggles, as they're going to purposely do. All right, just like I said, psychological operation after psychological operation is what we've always witnessed, especially during the times of the 2010s. So this is what we expect when it comes to them forwarding whatever agenda that is. And in this case, the agenda at large, as it seems to be, the more I look into these articles, is that they want to now roll in the ball of this new world system, which would be digital indeed. So this is just the beginning. So now let's read on some more. So this reads, Larry Fink tells investors more shutdowns and seizures in U.S. possible and predicts inflation and interest rates to rise. The collapse of the SVB could just be the start of a slow rolling crisis in the U.S. financial system, with more seizures and shutdowns coming. The chief executive of the world's largest asset manager has warned. The CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, also predicted in a letter to investors and company bosses that inflation would persist and rates continue to rise. Trends that both contributed to SVB's collapse. The failures over the past week of not only the California-based bank, but also fellow U.S. lenders Signature and Silvergate, has prompted jitters across the global markets. Such concerns were further fueled on Wednesday when shares in the Credit Suisse plunged to record lows after the troubled Swiss lender's biggest investors ruled out providing it with more funding. Fink described the situation as the price of easy money that was having to be paid after the Federal Reserve's decision to start aggressively raising interest rates. And that's going to bit by bit raise inflation. Something else had to give as the fastest pace of rates hikes since the 1980s exposed the crack in the financial system, he said. Fink added it was not yet clear where new victims of the asset liability mismatches that claim that SVB would be found. It's too early to know how widespread the damage is, Fink wrote. The regulatory response has so far been swift, and decisive actions have helped stave off contagion risks, but markets remain on edge. So, I mean, this is just him being a bit careful and him, giving his analysis as to what he sees going on, which, like I've said, and I'll say this again, that, what's going on right now with these banks, or what has happened with these banks, it was already done by purpose, man. I mean, come on now. All right. So this is not really a prediction. This is something that he already knows that these powers are going to have to do. All right. Because what is the ultimate agenda? It's to roll in that mark of the beast system. OK, and we hope that this could very well be the time where, they work their way to that point. And yes, as well as we do wish for them to bring in the beast system. OK, so yeah, that's it on that, man. And I just wanted to speak on the Credit Suisse Bank just a little bit, because all it really took was three banks: the SVB bank, and as well as the Signature Bank, and the other bank that I just read, right, Silvergate. All it took is those three banks to bring down the second largest bank in Switzerland, which is the Credit Suisse Bank. So if that's the case, then that's very telling that pretty much this falling of the bank situation is a contagious effect. And if this thing continues to go on and on, all that's going to happen is it's just going to pretty much bring the system to nothing. OK, and I have to read this because what I want to also go furthermore into in reading these articles, which I got just two articles of, reasonable economist analysis that's going to give their response of what they see happening or in the future, which is going to happen with these banks. So let's read this. Ecclesiastes 12 verse 3. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble. And when you look up the word economy is from the Greek word ekos, which means house or house managers. And those that are responsible for the house are your economists. OK, so as I'm going to read to you in this particular video, I'm going to be showing you that they're going to give their response as to what they see happening next. And what you're going to find out is that they all can see the same thing possibly happen, that one bank falling after the other is going to be equivalent to that of a domino effect if this keeps going on. So now let's continue on. And the strong men shall bow themselves and the grinders cease. In other words, there's not going to be no work because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. In other words, there's not going to be no future, right? Those that seek for the future are going to find out that there's no future. And the door shall be shut in the streets, and when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all of the daughters of music shall be brought low. So all of this is happening in these times. The music has already been brought low already. Not to go off topic, but just elaborating on the scripture. But eventually this society is going to collapse through these banks, of course, if these banks continue to plunge down. And then there's going to be a lack of jobs, of course, because what propels these jobs? What propels these companies? The banks. So if the banks are out of business, then everyone's going to be out of business. So you ain't gonna have no jobs. So now let's read in this article here, the week.co.uk. So as this reads, Credit Suisse will emergency lifeline calm the global bank fears. Sell-off of Switzerland's second largest bank came days after SVB's collapse. The shares in the Credit Suisse jumped this morning after Switzerland's central bank stepped in to shore up investors' confidence, and the troubled private lender's stock plummeted by as much as 30% yesterday after one of its top shareholders, Saudi National Bank, ruled out any further investments, said the Financial Times. The sell-off weighed on bank stocks in Europe and the U.S., which were reeling from the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank. But the announcement that Credit Suisse will borrow up to 54 billion, which is 45 billion pounds from the Swiss National Bank, caused shares to rebound, and the moves means Credit Suisse will become the first major global bank to be given an emergency lifeline since 2008 financial crisis, said the Telegraph. And speaking about the 2008 crash, as we can all kind of remember what happened there, where you had a lot of foreclosures on homes, people buying homes, and they had to go foreclosure and stuff like that. And there was various different problems that was going on at the time, but that was one of the main things that I could remember. All right, I probably remember other stuff, but it's not come to mind as of yet because I'm focusing on this particular lesson here. But yeah, we all remember this, happening around that time period. But this crash, if the banks continue to fall as they may, this crash is going to be uncomparable to any economic decline ever. Okay? Because what they've been doing is they've been building more on top of the problematic world, or the economy as it is, right? So when this thing collapses, man, it's going to collapse big time, to the point where it's going to have an effect largely on a global scale, which is, again, this is done by purpose so that they can then graduate the world to the CBDC digital ID world, which in fact is the B system biblically. All right. So now let's go on and read this. What did the papers say? Switzerland's second largest bank has been plagued by mismanagement for nearly 2 decades, said Andres R. Martinez at New York Times. But the latest crisis erupted after 3 U.S. banks, SVB, Silvergate, and Signature Bank, collapsed in quick succession, and their combined fortunes have triggered swings in the market, pushed Credit Suisse shares to a record low, and revived fears of a contagion that could lead to a global recession. And this is what these analysis of the economy are saying, that this could possibly be a contagion that can lead to a global recession. Just like I've mentioned, those three banks, the SVB Bank, the Signature Bank, and the Silvergate Bank, all in combination brought down the Credit Suisse Bank, which is the second largest bank in a different country, which is the country of Switzerland. So if that's the case, as I'm going to say again, it's very telling that this thing can spread, all right, to a global recession, as I've just read to you. Right there and there. And I did watch the live that the elders went into, Elder Requirecum, and as well as the Elder Ariel, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. They both spoke on this particular topic, and them two brothers are well versed in the knowledge of where the economy is going in other places. And so I'm just kind of like sharing you what I've researched on, and just showing you that basically, as what we've been saying, man, is the fact that this world is going to come to an abrupt end. And we've been speaking about the collapsing of the economy throughout the years, way before we're now starting to see this happen in today's time. So you got to give it up to us. You got to take your hats off to us, man. You got to be real about it and just say, look, the men in GMS, from the elder apostles on down to the different bishops on down to the brothers on down, we got to be those men, because look what we've predicted years in advance, and now it's starting to happen. It started with our words, and now the actions are showing. So now let's go and read this as well. This is 1 Timothy 6 and verse 17. Charge them that are rich in this world, that they be not high-minded, nor trust in uncertain riches, but in the living power, who giveth us richly in all things to enjoy. And I read this to just say this too. Like, a lot of people are going to be hurting because a lot of people have invested so much into this world, man. And it's kind of like when you're in a relationship with someone and you invest your heart and your soul into that someone, and that someone then decides to want to leave you, or go against you. Guess what? Eventually you're gonna feel bad. You're going to feel like you've basically been robbed, which you have been robbed. And that's what's going to happen with a large majority of these people, because the large majority of these people expected themselves to become something in this world, had goals, had aspirations, or wanted to become whatever they wanted to become. Or you got people that have pretty much garnered a lot of money, becoming rich. And so with that being the case, when this world fails them, just like, for example, when your woman fails you after you done put all your heart into her, guess what? You're gonna bug the hell out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna just go crazy. It's gonna be chaotic out here, because people ultimately trusted in this world. They've invested in this world, and then they've had a lot of trust in it. So the world that's going to basically fall apart, which is what they've trusted in, is going to break their heart big time. So the thing of it is, man, what men should be doing, especially our people, we should be putting our trust in a power which is immortal, which will not stumble, which will not fall. See, men stumble and fall. Kingdoms come and go. And when you put your trust in these things, guess what? You'll fall with it. All right. So when all hell breaks loose, because we've put our trust in Yahweh Bashmi Shai. Yeah, this is what I wanted to read right here. Verse 9, 1 Timothy 6:9. But they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare. You know what that snare is going to be? That snare is going to lead to them taking that mark. Forward a little bit, because I done messed up something, man. Yeah, so this is Revelations 3 and verse 10. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all of the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. And what's going to be the temptation which will try the people all over the planet? It's the fact that the mark of the system is going to be in effect, and in order for you to correspond in that digital system, which is what they're fulfilling right now, if these banks are falling as they are, right, bit by bit, time in and further, in some cases time away, however they're falling apart. If this is the case, then this is what's going to happen. So, as well as I'm going to say too, those that have put their trust in this society, when all hell fails with these banks, what do you think people are going to do? People are going to be willing to give themselves over to this beast system to receive that implantable device, because ultimately, like I said, they've already put their trust and their heart into this system, and they've accumulated a lot of money. They became rich. But see, the men of Yahweh Bashmi Shai, when all hell fails, guess what? We're going to be situated in our mind, because we've already put our trust in a greater power, and we put our trust in the Heavenly Father to establish another world which is forth to come. So when this world comes apart, what kind of state of mind are we going to be in? Once again, we're going to be okay. We're going to be stabilized. Yeah, we may be in a state of fear to a smaller degree, because we're going to witness an environment which will turn chaotic like we've never witnessed before. So it's going to have an effect on us emotionally, but we're going to be happy at the same time, because we know that our world is coming, as it is written in the book of 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, where it reads that Esau is the end of the world and Jacob's the beginning of it that followeth. So we're going to know at that time, when Jacob's trouble comes around and they bring forth this MOTB system, we know at that particular moment in time, the Lord is going to make a second return and deliver us from the destruction which is forth to come, right? On top of that, and then we're going to go set up the kingdom. You see? So we're going to be kept. We're going to be cool, as it is also written that the wisdom and the knowledge shall be the stability of thy time, and the fear of the Lord, and the strength of their salvation, and the fear of the Lord is his treasure. So that's what we're going to have. We're going to have that. So now let's go and read this now. Mailonline.co.uk, the dailymail.co.uk, as well as it's also known as too. So this is coming from another economist, which is what he sees So I'm going to read it right now. So it begins to read, it isn't a one-off financial markets. Brace for more pain from the Silicon Valley Bank. Death spiral. With First Republic, Pac West, and Signature Bank stocks down by up to 50%, and tech giants unable to access frozen billions. The sudden collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank has sent financial markets into a frenzy, as experts warn it may not be a one-off, and brace for the next domino to fall. California and regulators shuttered the banks on Friday after a run on deposits pushed it into a crisis, causing the largest U.S. bank failure since the 2008 Great Recession, and the ripple effect has already hit similar institutions, such as the New York Signature Bank, which saw its shares price plummet 23% before trading was halted when the news of SVB's demise came in. The share price of the First Republic, the 16th largest bank in America, also crashed by 14.8%, and Pac West dropped by 38%. University of San Diego finance professor Dan Ricardo cautioned that while the SVB was a niche bank, more firms are likely to face troubling times ahead. I don't think we're going back to where we were in 2008 necessarily, but these things aren't one-offs, he told Fox News. My suspicion is we're going to see a few more of these things creep up. And if anything, he would know this because he's He's a top economist. He's one of the top economists. And half of these dudes are insiders too, so they know what the deal is. Okay? So yeah, man, and I mean, like, I just want to read the scripture too, because now that this topic has been pretty much been made public, you got people saying, oh, you got to get the money out of your account. You might have to go and see if you can get some gold and silver, which if you can do that, that's all right. That's cool. But guess what? Check this out. This is Proverbs 11 and verse 4. Riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness deliver from death. Righteousness of the perfect shall direct his ways, but the wicked shall fall by his own wickedness. So this is the point right here, man. But righteousness to live from death. So this is going to be the currency which will deliver us from the days of despair, because it's coming. All right. Between the old world system that we're now under and them graduating us to the new world system, there's going to be chaos. There's going to be extreme chaos. And guess what? In that time, you're going to need the Heavenly Father. And we're going to have that. And because we're going to have that, we're going to be stable in the mind. Yeah, we're going to be seeing the rumblings and, all of this animalistic behavior among the people, right? People may have to die too in some cases. We may even see people dying, getting killed, whatever, because it's going to be martial law on the streets. But guess what? We're still going to be stable in the mind. And we're going to be delivered from death, because that's going to be the days of death. All right. So that's going to be the currency that we're going to have, the true, genuine currency. Okay. Not depending on gold and silver or trying to get the fiat fund currencies out of your account to save your ass. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say on this right here, man. With that, I'm closing. Shalom.